It doesn't matter what level you're at right now. You may be clueless about cryptos but intrigued by what you've heard, or you may have bought a few mainstream cryptos like Bitcoin, Ether, or Litecoin. You may be even storing them on an exchange, which, as you'll find out later, is asking for trouble. If this sounds like you, you're in the right place. I will equip you with a finely tuned crypto BS detector and all the necessary information you need to decide whether this crazy market is the right fit for you, and vice versa. But before we begin, let's go back in time a bit. Back in 2010, I took the plunge and quit my dream job. Ever since I was a kid, I'd always wanted to be a Royal Air Force pilot, and I dedicated every waking moment of my childhood to becoming one. After many hard years of chasing my dream and being called Space Cadet at school, it finally paid off when I became an officer at the age of 18 and got my wings a few years later. It was great. I was being paid to fly, travel the world, and play with some pretty cool toys. I'll never forget the first time I flew with night vision goggles. It was just surreal. I've had some of the best memories of my life in the Air Force, but I had to escape. I had to get out of that militarized rat race. Yes, many perks came with the job, but in reality, 90% of it was a mind-numbing chore of waking up early, shaving every day, being told what to do, spending 5 hours or more planning maps and logistics for an hour of flying, and the extra duties you had to do as an officer. Also, I was becoming increasingly aware of a condition known in the Air Force as AIDS, Aircraft-Induced Divorce Syndrome. Pretty much every pilot I knew above the age of 40 was divorced or having a midlife crisis, and many also had money troubles. It was a vortex that I thoroughly wanted to avoid. My trading, which I started when I was 18, was beginning to come good. Well, I say good. The truth was more that I was no longer burning money at an alarming rate. For the first few years, I was the worst trader on the planet. I lost 50 grand in my first year, and then continued to burn £2,000 per month, every month, for 4 solid years. It was painful. I pretty much had a gambling problem, and my stubbornly thick brain couldn't get the hang of it at all. With hindsight, my ego was hindering my progress. The idiot youth inside me was thinking, if I can fly planes in the military, surely everything else in life is easy. How wrong I was. After 6 years, I actually started to become consistently profitable, but it definitely wasn't due to being a whiz kid on the markets. I just had 6 years of stepping on landmines under my belt. Through trial and error, I learned what not to do. So around late 2009, I had a convergence of exit signals. My trading was improving, and I began to dislike my job. Wealth generation became my new obsession, and I quickly realized that I'd never hit the monthly income goal I'd set myself in the military. To top it all off, I scared myself witless on a couple of flights because I was just thinking about the trades I had running instead of flying the aircraft. My focus definitely wasn't on flying. I did less prep, put in less effort, and started to fail some rather elementary tests. It was a recipe for eventual disaster. I had to leave. My job became totally incongruent with my new life goals. And the first one was to sort myself out financially and hit my £20,000 per month take-home target. After a Christmas of deliberation, in early 2010, I executed the 7 clicks to freedom. There's a personnel system in the Air Force where you can effectively hit the career nuke button and bang out of the mob by sacrificing a monumental chunk of your pension and other perks. I've learned a lot since leaving the Air Force. From 2010 to 2014, I was an utter failure. My first 3 businesses flopped, I ran up a £130,000 debt, and I was forced to borrow £10,000 from my parents to prevent personal bankruptcy. The road to success is never as straightforward as in the movies. I now know that success is like a SpaceX rocket launch. Years of preparation and failure on the ground, and then boom, the success bit happens in a couple of minutes. Fast forward to today, it's late 2017, and I'm in Vegas, tapping away at the keyboard, resisting the pull of the strip. I now own 7 profitable businesses and have fingers in a few other companies. I've hit many of my financial targets, including my original monthly income goal. I've got my dream car, I like my toys, live in a house I thought it would take 20 years to achieve, and I've just finished speaking to a huge audience about cryptocurrencies at the US Money Show. And in 2015, I achieved a personal record on the markets by making just over £420,000 in 30 minutes at home while I sat in my underwear during the Black Monday crash. So what have I learned? 1. When it comes to investing, often the thing you really don't want to do is the thing you really need to do. If wealth generation were easy, everyone would be rich, right? I see too many people being miserable about their lives who aren't willing to get up and do something about it. I once met a guy in the US who moaned that where he lived was always cold. I told him he wasn't a tree. All he needed to do was pack his stuff into a van and move south. In my case, leaving the dream job I dedicated most of my life to was a really tough pill to take. And for 4 hard years, I thoroughly regretted it. Joining the Air Force was the best thing I've ever done, but leaving it was the second best. So if you too are in a position that isn't in line with what you want to do, pivot.